You have to have an exploration mindset. You're always exploring. You're looking for a business model that fits your idea. You've got this idea, you've got a belief, you've got a theory, you've got a gamble, you've got an offer, you've got a disagreement, and now you've got to find a business model that works to make that take off.
This is the Startup Junkies podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Startup Junkies podcast. Thanks for tuning in from wherever and however you're tuning in with us. My name is Talley. I'm a member of the Startup Junkie team, joined by returning guest host, Grace Gill. How's it going, Grace?
Doing well. It's been a minute since I've actually been on the podcast, so excited to get back behind the mic.
We're excited to have you. And we're also excited to be joined by our old friend, not that you're old, but friend for, more than just today. And our friend from across the northern border, Permjot Valia. Welcome to the show.
Great to be back. Thank you. Great to see you again, Grace. Great to be with you again, Caleb.
Yeah. So, Permjot, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Oh, in the last couple of years? Mm-hmm. Doing more and more training with companies, working with more and more startups, but trying to change the way I work with startups. So I'm getting more and more disillusioned that a lot of the tools we're using to help startups aren't actually working. And I think the startup space is getting more and more congested. And I think startups are learning the wrong lessons from the AI wave. So yeah, I've just been busy with that kind of stuff.
And so for those of you that are listening, watching, that may not have tuned into previous episode with you, give us the Permjot elevator pitch. As a world-renowned pitch coach, give us the Permjot pitch.
Thanks. Nice and easy beginning. I think if you, my very short pitch would be, if you wanted to give a presentation to people and wow them, I can help you with that. So I think my first and foremost strength is actually helping people communicate good, powerful ideas well. Because it's we see this all the time. Great entrepreneurs, great ideas, great technologies, and they never take off because of a failure to communicate. You've got to be able to tell the story. Storytelling is so important, and we diminish it again and again and again. Or we just think there's a formula to it, and there isn't. You've got to learn how to tell and articulate that story well.
And you've done that. You've done that for organizations here in Arkansas. You've done that, in Canada, and you've done that. I've had the pleasure of being across the pond with you, as well as we've participated in other programs as well.
Yes. I've done it in Poland. So I've done it in Cape Town, so I've done it all over. I think I've done it in almost every continent. Yeah, other than Australia.
Antarctica?
Yeah, I haven't done that.
Not yet.
But, I don't know how penguins will pitch.
Yeah.
But,
very carefully.
Aside from the penguins, is it mostly similar across, all of the countries and continents you're going to? Like, are these principles the same that you teach?
The principles are the same, Grace. What a great question. The principles are the same, but actually the way you tell them, and you do notice these cultural differences. So I always make fun of the South African pitch. So the South African pitch is overly dramatic. They'll walk into the room and they'll just stare into silence and say things like, South Africa has many problems. Unemployment, crime, race relations. But I have a solution. We have a pencil that uses 6% less lead. And you're like, wow, that's soaring rhetoric. And then you've got to make sure the rhetoric matches the solution. So you do have this cultural thing. And working with Indian entrepreneurs, you find that in India, they really want to tell you about the technical thing. And in Japanese pitches, they really want to establish their credibility first. They want to really say, this is why you need to pay attention to me. And I think culture that you do have to change a little bit. Whereas here, I say introducing yourself at the beginning is kind of wasted. You're not the hero. Your company, your product, your solution, that's the hero. So you can talk about yourself towards the end, not the beginning. So yeah, great question. It does vary, yeah.
And how has the AI changed that landscape over the last few years for you?
It hasn't changed. AI is brilliant. I love AI. I use AI all the time. But it still needs the human creativity. And I think AI still can't tell great stories. It can't add that human touch. So I think I would encourage people to embrace soft skills again. And it's always a misnomer. There's a great book by Adam Grant, came out, I think, last year or 2 years ago. Hidden Potential. Great book. And it talks about why it's called soft skills versus hard skills. It was a term actually invented by the US military. There was military training. And they didn't know what to call this training they were getting that wasn't about using ammunition and stuff. And they said, well, that's hard because, bullets hitting metal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they called it soft skills. And I wish they hadn't called it soft skills. But that's why it's called soft skills, because it was just the US military way of distinguishing between the tactical military skills. And it's a shame because I think the competitive advantage for entrepreneurs and for people going forward is going to be those soft skills.
So what sort of soft skills do you think that they should prioritize, an entrepreneur should prioritize as they kind of consider that new landscape?
Again, it comes back to being able to communicate humor, telling a joke. Just having a laugh.
ChatGPT can't tell a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's great. It's very poor at telling a joke.
It's funny. Somebody actually did this experiment where they say, tell some jokes to VC in Don Rickles style. And it was really funny. It was really funny. So I think ChatGPT can tell jokes that you then have to work on. But no, you need to be able to think about trust. How do we build trust? We build trust with people by the 3C model. You connect with people, you show them your competence, and you are consistent. AI can't help build those connections yet. It doesn't know how to connect. So those soft skills, how do you connect with people? How do you see people? Again, great book I'd recommend from David Brooks, How to See a Person. And I've always been good at connecting with people and relationship building, but this book actually gave me another dimension. It was a really, really good idea about how do you actually connect with people? How do you see people? How do you really see people? A beautiful book. Because a lot of people don't do that. So I think those skills are going to be more important going forward than ever before.
And I imagine there are probably a great deal of folks who have put so much value in their ability to do X, Y, Z, the hard skills.
By Z, do you mean Z?
What's that?
By Z, do you mean Z?
Yeah.
No, look, I'm English. We gave you this beautiful gift called the English language. I would really appreciate it.
Hey, we can play around. We're playing around with it. The hard skills that they've honed in over however many years, that now you have AI, you have these automations that kind of make these years worth of training and their ability to do certain things kind of unnecessary. And so now they're having to be retrained, those soft skills that weren't necessarily where they kind of leaned in.
Yeah, that's very true. I think a lot of skills that we need have, just like manufacturing capabilities, we've lost certain skills that we do need to bring back.
Yeah.
We need to bring back.
It's like, hey, I don't know how to talk to people, but I can code really well. Well, we don't really need you to code anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But we do need you to connect with people.
Yeah.
We do need you to talk to people. And COVID, I think there's this whole generation of people that have really lost the ability to connect. And Mark Cuban, he made a very interesting observation that with the growth of AI, not being able to tell whether you're talking to a real person or AI will mean that in future, people will crave connecting with people again. Social events, connecting with real people, there'll be a renaissance in that.
Then kind of going back to for people who are in startup or figuring out their pitch on this, with the abundance of AI and with, maybe diving too much into the technical or, like you said, spending too much time on credibility, how do you build that story? And then how do you really stand out in today's landscape? How are you coaching startups to really stand out?
Oh, another great question.
It's proprietary.
Sorry?
So that's proprietary.
No, that's a great question. And I think what you got to do is, I think it starts with a really good strategy. And I think the problem with the word strategy is so overused that it's lost its meaning and it's lost its relevance. And there's a great guy, Alex Smith, he produces a lot of content on LinkedIn for free. And he comes up with this model, which is, you've got to come up with your strategy first. And then you've got to come up with your story. And then from that, you then do your targeting and etc. Very, very good model. And I think, again, he has this model where he says, instead of using the word strategy, there are 6 other words you could use instead of, and that helps clarify whether you have a strategy or not. One of the words is disagreement. What is the disagreement you have with the rest of the industry? So what I want to hear, these 6 words that he's come up with is one. Increasingly, I ask startups, what is your theory? What is the gamble you are taking? What is the choice you have made? What is the disagreement you have with the rest of the industry, as I mentioned earlier? It's those kind of things. And what is your secret? And that helps startups distill down to what they're really doing. And then from that, we can craft a brilliant story. Because you've got to have a strategy. So strategy is something that you need to know. Story is something you want your customers, your users, your investors, employees to know. So strategy versus story. But you've got to start off with a good strategy. And I think in this hyper-competitive world, you've got to stand out. Mm-hmm. Offer. What is your offer? Better offers make better profits. I was working with this company in Nova Scotia, and they mentioned that they do something and it's 1,100 times better than their nearest competitor. I'm like, so what? That's just a number. What capabilities can your clients now do because of this, so that you could say, only we can deliver X, Y, and Z? That's far better than 1,100 times. Mm-hmm. So think about what that better confers as an only. If you say we're 3 times better, well, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. What capabilities are unique because of that being better? So think about only is better than better.
Because your customer is not sitting there wondering how much better you are than
Correct.
the other company at any given time. Yeah.
What is it I can do only using your solution?
Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about, you're going to be working with some of the fuel companies, or with the fuel cohort this fall. We're excited to have you, participating in that. And I know Grace is kind of stealing your question here, probably. But tell us a little bit about, basically from your initial kind of interaction with the cohort. What's your takeaway so far?
Really, really can't wait. I love how international it is. I'm a big fan of Arkansas, as you already know. I'm the Goodwill Ambassador for the state of Arkansas, a job I take very seriously.
And it's just going to appear across the bottom.
It better do. It better. It's funny, every time I come into the US, every time they immigration, I always say, oh, by the way, I'm the Goodwill Ambassador of Arkansas. And, I'm hoping that they'll say, oh my gosh, please go through.
Do you carry your Arkansas traveler certificate?
Absolutely. I should take that with me every time. But what is interesting is I think it's great just how global Arkansas is, and how people are recognizing more and more that in certain verticals, this is the place to be to gain that acceleration. And what I see in those companies, in the cohort, is people who really want to make the most, and they recognize the opportunity it is to be part of this cohort. And that's what excites me. I hate working with people. I admire teachers. I love teachers. I get to teach people who want to be taught. Imagine teaching people who don't want to be in the room. Oh my gosh, that's so difficult. So one of the things I love about this cohort is it's clear they really want to be here. Mm-hmm. So all we can do is help them. Mm-hmm. How can we help them?
That's definitely true. We've heard or something we've kind of coined as we've gone along is, for Bentonville, you can come into Bentonville and get access to the world because of the kind of melting pot it is, for the backgrounds, the people that are here, the corporate business that's here, but also the opportunities in the entrepreneurial world. It makes it really robust. And so it's been exciting already to have our cohort in town and them be like, oh, wow, like this is a really unique place. It's always, recruiting a new cohort and trying to, they're asking, well, why Bentonville, Arkansas? And even with the, cookie cutter answers to that, it's not until they really get to be here and, they come, we do events and they just get to start meeting people. Like, oh, we had a cohort company already say, there's something weird good going on here, right? Like it's unique and there's a little bit of magic just because of the community. So
Are you an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur looking to get plugged into the ecosystem? We host a ton of events designed for education, inspiration, and collaboration, from weekly meetups to quarterly events like pitch competitions and annual events like our marquee event, the Startup Crawl, which is the largest startup party in Arkansas. Check out our event page on our website, sign up, and we'll see you there.
Grace, something happened last night. I went for dinner with Jeff Amrine and Sarah Goforth, and we're having dinner, and Jeff bumped into someone he knew, and he instinctively wanted to introduce us to this person. And I don't think people recognize that in Arkansas, that's actually a secret source. In other places, people do not do that.
Yeah.
You would have noticed in the UK, people will carry on. It's awkward. People will carry on with their private conversations, but they won't think about introducing you. So I think that's one of these secrets that Arkansas has, where you keep people don't feel alone here. They feel a belonging, and because people keep introducing you to their social capital. So social, you have an abundance mindset. That is, my network doesn't diminish if I introduce more people to my network. Whereas in other places I've worked, it's really difficult to grow that network because people will not introduce you to their network. They're very protective about it. And I've never understood that mindset. That's not how networks work. So that's one secret sauce. The other big advantage I think Northwest Arkansas has, which you don't celebrate or sell. And I just see other small areas around the world and I love working in, traditionally what you call small area. I wouldn't call Northwest Arkansas small area by any stretch of the imagination. By any index, I don't think the word small would apply. But what you have is a huge management pool here. Other places don't have a management pool. What I mean by that is when companies are looking to scale, they need to hire professionals who've been there before, who know how to do a P&L, know how to do a balance sheet, know how to manage people, know how to have difficult conversations, know how to find product market fit, all of these great things, how to get a shelf listing, etc., etc. There is an abundance of really brilliant, well-trained management class here because of the investment that all the suppliers have made in them. I mean, Procter & Gamble, Mars, Unilever, these are big companies that invest huge in personal development and training. You've got all these people here. So, and a lot of them are doing the MBA at the university, etc. So you have this phenomenal pool of talent that can really help startups grow. Whereas you go to other places like where I'm from, Halifax, Nova Scotia, we simply do not have that. There's probably one organization, the banks. They're probably the only ones investing in management training. And that makes a big difference when you're looking to scale companies.
Rich talent pool.
Very rich. Because people always think about, and this is another thing I have a real kind of issue with. We keep going on and on about leadership. We've stopped talking about managers. We've stopped talking about management. People they're either a doer or a leader. And I'm a big believer, and I think it started with things like The Office with Michael Scott, and nobody wants to be a manager anymore. And, nobody wants to be a manager. And I think a lot of people, and the problem with that is a lot of people then don't learn the skills you need as a great manager. And I think great organizations still believe in management, still train people to be great managers, and then they become great leaders because they were great managers. Whereas now we're going straight from, being a whatever level you are to being a leader. And I think that's a big jump that a lot of people don't make. And then you outsource the job of being a manager to coaches, which I frigging hate. I hate the growth of the coaching industry with a passion, and you have people who have never been there. No, anyway, sorry, I'm really going off topic. But it's
what podcasts are for.
Sorry?
No, so that's what podcasts are for.
No, but I just think I want coaches to either be qualified. So there are some great coaches here who are qualified. Most of the coaches I know who are qualified to be coaches don't need the money, so they do it for free. Otherwise known as mentoring. And what I do think is a lot of leaders are outsourcing the job of being a manager to coaches because they don't know how to manage. And that's a real problem, I think, going forward. That capability has to be in-house. You've got to know how to manage people, not just lead, manage people. And there is a difference.
That's something that I'm learning every day myself. I feel like in my role at Startup Junkie is just learning every day how to manage different types of people. I feel like it's just like I'm always learning on the fly. And
do you differentiate between managing and leading?
Probably. Well, no, not necessarily. I probably should to an extent, but I think I find myself a little more reactionary in the moment. As we have so many spinning plates, the organization always has all these different kind of projects going on at any given time that I find myself just kind of in a reactionary role of making sure that we are adequately addressing each of those things. But I feel like that is more crisis manager than a program leader.
Wow, that's But I think you can't always be leading.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine every day working for someone who's a leader. I want to work for a manager. I want to see the leadership element every now and then. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't need to see a leader every day.
Mm-hmm.
That would be exhausting. Imagine every day. Today's strategy.
For both, yeah.
Yeah. This Monday's strategy is, this Monday's goals are, I don't want to be led every day. I want to be managed. You've set the goal, you've set the vision, you've inspired me, you've motivated me. Now, how do I become a better person capable of performing the tasks you want me to do? You've got to go from leadership to management. And I think when you talk about reacting, and that is, a lot of that is management. And that's why a lot of organizations struggle, because everything is lead. No, sometimes you've got to manage.
Well, it makes me feel better.
Well, and do you have a coach?
I don't think I have a coach.
Because what is interesting is...
Do I have a coach?
No, because 77% of organizations, according to Gallup, 77% of organizations invest in coaching, but not in management training. Only 29% of companies invest in management training, but 77% of companies invest in coaching. And I'm thinking, maybe if you invested in management training, you wouldn't need so many coaches.
That's true.
That's something a lot of startups run into too. When do you say that like a founder needs to take off a little bit of their like founder visionary hat and put on that management hat?
Oh, Grace.
Yeah.
Third, hat trick. That's a hat trick. Third great question. Wow. And I love it because I have an answer. So sometimes when people say that's a great question, what they're really saying is, wow, that gives me an opportunity to have a great answer. Yeah. Thanks. That's like, so thank you. I actually say this when I invest in, so I also invest in startups. I've invested about 55, 56 startups around the world. A lot of them.
In Northwest?
Yeah, absolutely. Northwest Arkansas. Sometimes when I invest in a company, I'll actually sit down with the founder and say, right, let me explain when you're going to get fired. Because there's a big difference between being an entrepreneur and being a business person. An entrepreneur, and most scientists have this, which is why scientists actually make great entrepreneurs, contrary to what people might tell you. You have to have an exploration mindset. You're always exploring. You're looking for a business model that fits your idea. You've got this idea, you've got a belief, you've got a theory, you've got a gamble, you've got an offer, you've got a disagreement, and now you've got to find a business model that works to make that take off. A business person or somebody with an MBA, you know what MBA stands for, yeah? Must be acknowledged. So an MBA is a 2-year study, 1-year study in how to exploit an existing business model. So you will tell the founder that when we get to the product market fit stage, when we get to the stage where exploitation is more important than exploration, you need to change, because very few founders want to be, driving efficiencies, driving scale. So it's, and it's a shame that you explain it as you're being fired, but that's why I explained it to them at the beginning, that if you're successful, you'll get fired. If you're not successful, don't worry about it. You'll stay founder forever.
Well, and you see that because, you see all the founders that will, go off, they'll either, get acquired or sell or whatever. And then they go and do it again, and they go do the same thing because that's their nature. That's in their blood, and that's what they need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just think if we had more honest conversations with people beforehand. So I had this conversation with the founder beforehand. Now, the founder recognized that actually they did want to stay with the company. So they recognized they needed to invest in those skills to learn how to become a manager, etc. And they wanted to drive those efficiencies when the company got to scale. Most founders don't. Most founders were like, oh, thank you, that's a great weight off my shoulder. I'll know when to quit, or I'll know when to get that call. So when a VC comes in, normally with a Series B, and VCs get a bad name for very good reason often, but they will often say, right, we're giving you this money at Series B stage to drive efficiencies. We don't think you're the person to be able to do that. And they should explain why. And nobody articulates the way, look, you're an explorer. We now need somebody with a different skill set. But yeah, it's just not in their DNA, which is why they've become multiple founders. But I just wish it could be managed more amicably.
Yeah.
So I guess as we get to the stage of the conversation where we ask you to go in your time machine, it's our time machine question, Permjot. If you were to go back, say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, and have a conversation with young Permjot, what piece of advice would you give yourself with all the accumulated knowledge that you have now?
Don't take yourself too seriously. Relax. Enjoy the journey. And that would be it.
That's it.
I think people take themselves way too seriously. I like people who take their job seriously, not themselves. Whereas a lot of people I work with, especially in government, they take themselves way too seriously, but they don't take their job seriously. It's like, there was a when Bill Clinton was president, I always remember he did this. It was a Memorial Day, and he was making a speech, and he was being booed by large sections of the crowd because of his war record, or lack of a war record. And I remember he said something which I really thought was powerful. He said, "I appreciate you booing me, but today I'm speaking to you as the commander-in-chief." And he was able to distinguish between the uniform and the person. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to remember, sometimes when you're criticizing the individual. Don't confuse the individual with the title they hold. And I think you end up with people who forget who they are, and they don't see that disconnect between the title, the office they hold, and who they are. You know, when people say, I am the CEO, you are temporarily the CEO. But who are you really? And people always lead with, I am. So I always get confused even when people say, hey, tell us about you. Who are you? Well, that's a big question. You know, I'm still trying to figure that out. But we trade in these titles and labels if they mean something, and they're all temporary. They're just temporary. So yeah, I would say this to my younger self. The other thing is sometimes I'll meet people and it's the weirdest thing. I'll say to somebody, oh, Grace, you remind me of me when I was your age. And as if that's a compliment. When I say that to someone, it's an insult. And I'm like, oh, you remind me of me when I was young. I hope you figure your stuff out. You know, because a lot of people...
Bless your heart.
Yeah.
No, because I even read, somebody did a post on LinkedIn, and they let's just call them Permjot, just because it's easy. Because otherwise they'll know who I am. And they said, I met someone today who reminded me of the young Permjot. And then they liked that post. So you had Permjot saying, I met somebody and they remind me of Permjot. And then you'd like the post. I'm thinking, wow, how mad is this? So I think, yeah, that's the advice I'd give myself. And I'd give you, the advice I'd give younger people is, and the other advice is invest in relationships. Invest in relationships. Don't be transactional. Do not be transactional. I've been coming to Arkansas now for 12 years and I've been loving it. And I think one of the reasons I think I have a good reputation here is because I think I've spent a lot of time building relationships with people. It's never been a series of transactions. And so, yeah, I would give that advice, and I would like to think I've lived that advice.
And people know that too after those engagements with someone who's not transactional. I mean, it just leaves a different taste in your mouth, a different experience. It's just...
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Is this person going to be with me?
Yeah.
For the long haul? Yeah, absolutely. This is fun. The journey is fun. Journey's fun. This is so much fun. This is so much fun. It really is.
Well, Permjot, for our viewers, listeners who want to know more about you or want to connect with you in any capacity, how might they do so?
Why would anybody want to connect with me after they've heard this?
After
they've heard this. Like, if you do want to contact me, please do. Permjot Valia. Hope I pronounced that properly. It's pvalia@me.com. Yeah. Awesome. Get in touch. No airs and graces. Just, get in touch.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share with a friend. Subscribe and review because it matters to us and we want to hear from you. If you're interested in learning how to work with us, check out the information below. See you next week.